Hello, creatives. Welcome back to True Creativity Within the podcast. In this episode, I am going to make this a two-part episode because I want to go over 6 ways in which creativity can help calm us down, de-stress, regulate our nervous system. And I'm going to go into why this is important because I think that what happens is that we've kind of taken it for granted. Yeah, we know all about stress. It's not good for us. We need to find ways to calm down and bring a little bit more peace into our life. So we work out, we eat right, we get enough sleep, all that stuff, right? We have a lot of education around stress. So we know that in general, it's important for us to try to minimize the amount of stress in our life, or at least having it go on for long periods of time. So I'm not going to go over all that because I think we as a society know a lot about how stress can create harmful side effects on our body, our mental health, right? And even in our relationships. So I just wanted to give a general idea of what stress is about, but I don't need to go into those parts because I think we know enough of that. And I think because of that, we have adopted a lot of things to help us de-stress, like taking yoga classes, learning how to meditate, mindfulness meditation, being present, and all of that. So one of the things I want to add to that is creativity, because as many of you know, creativity is a powerful tool, and I personally like to share with you and teach you why it's such a powerful tool for us in general, for our well-being, our mental health, sort of aligning the mind, body, spirit. So creativity is often overlooked when it comes to the whole concept of, if I need to de-stress, what are the immediate things that I think about? And creativity isn't necessarily at the top of the list. And I want to say it is so important and so essential to maintaining well-being, and especially to help you regulate the amount of stress that's going on in your body, going on mentally. So I'm going to go over the first 3 of the 6 ways that you can use creativity and why it's important to use creativity to help you regulate and manage stress. So number 1, the effects that creativity has on our nervous system is really beneficial. So just to give you a little recap, our nervous system, when we're stressed, has a lot going on. And when we're feeling anxious and worried, when we feel overwhelmed, that puts a toll on our nervous system. And then what happens when we're stressed, for especially long periods of stress, we start to feel unsafe. And what creativity does is it actually creates a safe place for us. And I think that's what's really beneficial, is that when we're going through a lot of stress, we're feeling anxious, we need that break. We need to take a break from that sense of things are uncertain, I'm worried about the future, I'm anxious, I'm feeling overwhelmed. We need a break from that, and creativity gives us that break. So think of creativity as a safe place for our nervous system. And then also what you want to keep in mind is that it also gets us out of that idea of that fight and flight mode, because stress obviously kicks in that automatic fight and flight, and then we can be on that level without even knowing it. We can be on that level of fight and flight, and we're unconscious of it, and then we don't realize we're sort of locked into that because we have this ongoing stress going on. So what we want to keep in mind is that creativity can soothe our nervous system and help us unlock out of that flight and fight, right? That fight and flight. So another thing too is that when we're doing something creative, because we're focused on something repetitive, we're focusing on something outside of us, it helps us utilize different senses. So, for example, when you're doing art, it kind of kicks in that visual stimulation, inspiration. We're working with color, we're working with different textures, different papers, collaging, and that actually helps unlocks us out of that fight and flight into a place where we feel a little bit more safe, and it signals our nervous system that, okay, I'm in a safe place, I'm calm, because we're giving ourselves a break from the stress. So that's another way that it calms our nervous system. Another thing too is that it also takes us out of that sort of physiological response, and it puts us in sort of that rest state of mind. So when we're creating, in other words, we're in a restful state, and that calms our nervous system down. And in a sense, when we're calm, we can make better decisions, or we can think a little bit clearer about our situation, especially if we have decisions that need to be made, clarity that we need to assess our options, what's the next step in our situation. And we need that clarity, but when we're stressed and we're in that fight and flight, we're not thinking very clearly, and we need a break from that, go into that safe place, which is that creativity, in order to get some clarity. Number 2, creativity quiets the busy mind. So, our habit is to click into, when we're stressed, to click into that human linear thinking, because we're trying to make decisions, we're trying to figure out what's the next step, what do I need to do in order, especially if we're in a situation where we have multiple things that we have to accomplish, we're already thinking about the next thing we need to do, right? So in other words, our mind is on overdrive and in that overthinking mode. So creativity redirects our focus so that we can focus on what like I said, the things that are giving us pleasure or joy, is that creativity, the color, the texture, the collage material, and especially which is one of the things that I will teach in my classes, is the art practice blended with music, aromatherapy, other senses that can get us into a more calm state. Another thing too is that creativity reconnects us with our heart center and the things that feed our soul. So we want to remember that creativity helps us get out of that stressful situation or stressful mode into that heart center, into that, I guess, flow state. And that's what we're trying to go for, is the flow state, which brings me to number 3. Creativity invites us into that creative flow. So when we're in that flow state, and that's usually because we're doing something repetitive in the art practice, and now we have that sweet spot with the rhythm of it, as well as that calm and concentration, focus on that one thing that we're doing, which is the art practice. And that's a perfect blend to put us into that flow state. So when we're in that flow state, and many of you have probably experienced this, is that our stress starts to melt away. It starts to diffuse, right? It starts to soften. Our body softens. We're able to breathe better. We're able to be more present. And what happens in that moment is that we're experiencing a little bit more calm. But as the stress melts away, we're also in that flow state. We lose track of time when we're creating. we're in that flow state, and that is distracting us from the anxiety and the stress, right? Because we need that break. So the thing is that we're not spending a lot of time in that flow state. It's not a common thing for us, because when we're going through our day, or if we're going through a challenging and stressful situation, we're up here. We're working on that linear thinking, trying to make decisions. And also, we're sort of spinning. We're thinking about the problem over and over and over, trying to get some resolution. And because we're operating from that level majority of the time, and even when we're not in a stress situation, we're still focusing on, what do I got to do today? What's all my chores, my to-do list? We're not in that flow state very often. And I think it's important to really recognize that we need to consciously make that time to de-stress, to get into that flow state, to unlock from that stressful sort of repetition. We're kind of in that mode and that routine of operating from this human brain and in that stressful state, in that stressful mode. So that's just 3 perfect ways in which creativity can create more calm in our body, in our nervous system, in us mentally, spiritually even, and especially when we are going through challenging situations and stressful moments. So one of the reasons why I'm going over this is that I want to share with you my newest offering going on right now, the Creative Calm Within, which is a 4-week journey to help you develop some creative practices that can give you that benefit of de-stressing, all the positive benefits to help you de-stress. Because I know this time of year starts to get more stressful. And the reason why it gets more stressful for us is a combination of things. Number one, the holidays are coming. So our schedules get more full. Especially when you're trying to schedule, the holidays, contacting family, or you've committed yourself to some art boutiques or holiday boutiques. Now you've added another stressor, right? You're making things and you're getting and preparing for those things. And it's wonderful. This time of year is wonderful, but it can also be stressful. And then there's this layer of this undercurrent of knowing the ending of the year is wrapping up and we're approaching a new year, and sometimes in the back of our minds we're thinking about, well, what do I want to bring into the new coming year, and what do I want to do? Sometimes we have that big question over our head is, well, what do I want more of in my life in general? So a lot of that brings up stress. So that's why I'm offering this 4-week journey and a course to help you develop some of the art practices that can help you de-stress. I also dive into some of the things I talked about to help you understand how to manage stress from a more expansive way and perspective, so that you can understand how you deal with stress, what's your patterns that can actually add more stress. I know for me, sometimes I have these high expectations, and then that adds another layer on top of my commitments and all the things that I need to do and accomplish. So I'm inviting you to think about joining my 4-week program. And it's going to be a combination of live sessions and pre-recorded sessions, so you can make this program work with your schedule. I'm also offering it at a time where we actually end right at the week before Thanksgiving, because I know once that hits, that's it, right? It gets faster and more accelerated. So I wanted to get this in so that you have the tools and the practices and also the guided visualizations to get you through the holidays. So check that out. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. And also, you can go to truecreativitywithin.com and you'll find information about the course there. So in the next episode to come, I'm going to go over the next 3 ways that creativity can create more calm in your life. So I hope you will check that out as well. In the next few weeks, I'll post that. So take care, try to stay calm, and I hope this was helpful. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye. Stay creative.